Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Ultimate General Civil War. Ultimate General has just released their newest patch, which includes a new battle, a new historical battle, and a further tick down the campaign route that you can play. The battle that they've included is an interesting choice. It's the Battle of Cold Harbor. Most infamous from that June assault, which was launched and stopped with nearly 8,000 Federal casualties and some 1,500 Confederate ones. Basically, Fredericksburg reenacted at Cold Harbor, except the Confederates were dug in trenches. The number of rifles and guns and whatnot was far greater, and the understanding of tactics of the offensive and defensive was also greater. The Union was stopped cold in a matter of minutes, and thousands of casualties resulted. Cold Harbor was more than just that one assault, however, as the briefing here provides. It was the culmination of General Grant's attempt to outflank Robert E. Lee in an attempt to drive in on Richmond and end the war quickly. The overland campaign had been happening all spring and summer, the battles of the Wilderness, the battles of Spotsylvania Courthouse, the battle of, I think it was the Anna River, where Grant mistakenly put a portion of his army in an inverted V between two rivers where they were critically exposed, and yet Robert E. Lee was suffering under what many believe was a heart attack and was bedridden, exclaiming to his generals, "We must hit them, we must hit them," because the Union was in such an exposed position, and yet he had no officers, no lieutenants that he could trust to lead a devastating attack on the Federals. Longstreet was in Richmond recovering from a grievous injury to his shoulder, I believe it was, which nearly killed him, and his other commanders, A.P. Hill and Jubal Early, were sorely lacking in his trust. So that by this point in time, Lee had almost taken on a corps commander role in addition to the army commander role. But as you can see here, the Battle of Cold Harbor, I believe it was a 3-day engagement. You can see here it gives you a little bit of a summary of these attempts by Grant to outflank the Union, and then gives a little preliminary to the Battle of Cold Harbor. Grant tries to swing around Lee's right flank once again, orders Sheridan's cavalry to secure the crossroads at Old Cold Harbor, about 10 miles east of Richmond, actually in the area close to where the Battle of Gaines' Mill was fought, so in that sort of peninsula 7 days campaign area. The cavalry secures the crossroads, and the Confederate army rushes to block the Union, and both armies begin to, the Confederates begin to build breastworks, and both armies begin to shift their formations toward these roads. The Confederates are entrenched and preparing to defend their positions. Should they fall, the Union army will, and there's no further explanation that you can see here. So let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to fight the battle from the Confederate side under Brigadier General difficulty, so kind of normal difficulty. And Battle of Cold Harbor. Again, we've got all of this that we already talked about. Confederates entrenched, preparing to defend their positions. Should they fall, the Union Army will break through and march to Richmond, the Confederate capital. So again, here you can see these lines are all defended. The Union's going around the Confederate flank. The Confederates are shifting forces to meet the onslaught. Essentially, months, two plus months of continuous fighting has worn both armies down. The Federals have brought in large artillery regiments from the fortifications around Washington to replenish their more than 60,000 casualties to this point. The Confederates have stripped Richmond bare, as well as anywhere else along the coast or any other armies that they can basically strip bare to replace their troops. They've lost more than 20,000 casualties in these preceding 2 months, and Cold Harbor would be yet another effusion of blood as the Confederate army is slowly being ground to dust and desperately attempts to stop the Union advance. The Union Army is shifting to our right. Once again, that was kind of the premise of the entire overland campaign, as the Federals kept shifting in perpetuity to the right. So again, that's what the briefing here says it's doing. It's shifting to the right, while we defend the roads that lead to our capital. So we're playing as the Confederates, as we've said. The enemy is already building trenches near Bethesda Church. Up to this section. Sheridan's cavalry has captured Old Cold Harbor Crossroads, and now from this position the Yankees are threatening to advance on Richmond. They're currently building breastworks to secure their new attack base. We have responded by maneuvering our force to defend New Cold Harbor Crossroads. So again, breastworks all over. This looks like Western Front World War I, with entrenchments and breastworks everywhere. Now this looks like it'll be a particularly strong position. Not only do you have the breastworks, which will give you a benefit on defensives, but you also have these this wooded terrain. There's a lot of open ground, though, that always makes me a little bit nervous in defending our positions. Sheridan's cavalry controls the Old Cold Harbor Road Junction and has prepared breastworks to defend it. We have a chance to attack and capture it before their infantry corps begin to arrive. We could claim a victory early on. I don't like that idea. We're also entrenching and must protect our defenses or else the battle will be lost prematurely. Okay. So essentially, we can hold the new Cold Harbor breastworks. We have to hold these breastworks, but we could try and hold these breastworks. Sheridan's forces are going to be probably largely in repeating units, right? I assume they probably have repeaters in their units. I don't know if I really want to attack. That seems kind of foolhardy. I've got like one spare brigade. I guess I could advance up this road and detach some skirmishers. I've put the rest of my troops in these breastworks. We do have a further line of breastworks further south, looks like. But I'm not too worried they're going to flank me. There's not enough room there for them to flank. So I'm going to send Hagod's skirmishers forward. He's equipped with Richmond rifles. We'll see what the Federals have in position. I don't really want to launch an assault. I'm content to concede this battle without much action. So I guess we'll see. Yeah, and there's no exposed flank. These breastworks go off the map. So we would have to hit these breastworks head on to have any chance of success. So really this is more of a probing action on my part, just to kind of see what the Federals have in place. Because I don't think an attack here is advised in any way, shape, or form. I think we're much better off just conceding the fact that we're not going to win the battle early on. McIntosh's forces here, about 900 men up against these breastworks. Now these skirmishers can advance under cover of the woods here to their front. So we'll see how this little skirmish action pans out. Fitzhugh Lee is at our services. So we've got some cavalry units coming up. What kind of weapons do these guys have? Enfield carbines. I think our best bet to break through would kind of be right here. There's almost like a little bit of a salient going on here. And again, you've got some woods to provide you some cover. And we are, you know, doing a little bit better than we're taking in terms of casualties. I think we'll advance one other infantry regiment into these woods here. I am opening up a gap in the center of my lines, which maybe we'll fill this way. Again, it's going to expose our flank here, but we've got troops in the way. Oh, shit. It's Custer! Federal cavalry! Butcher them! Alright. Pull back. Okay, so we just drove Custer's regiment back. You can see here we're losing a lot more men. So this infantry regiment's lost a little bit worse than it's given. If you include its skirmishers, it's doing a bit better. These guys look like a 1,000-man skirmisher unit? Jeez, that's a huge skirmisher unit. Okay. I don't really want to attack head-on, but I suppose we can try a little bit. These guys are losing a lot worse than they're getting, but the enemy keeps probing our flank. And again, they've got more troops dug in all along this line, so I don't think it's a good idea to attack here. But maybe if we can dislodge this one regiment, we can break their flank here and push them out of this whole line. I'm not sure. Maybe we can send these horsemen north. Agod is losing heavily. Chapman's really not losing much at all. And the casualties have really flipped around on us. This corps is threatening our small force. We should fall back to our trenches. Where? Alright, pull back, guys. Pull back. Alright, we'll reattach our skirmishers. The enemy is coming in on our flank. We'll use our cavalry to hold our withdrawal if the enemy should pursue us. Yes, Sharpsburg is in this game. Yeah, I would have preferred them to include Spotsylvania Courthouse. It doesn't make a lot of sense, in my opinion, to just go straight to Cold Harbor. They should have included, at the very least, the Wilderness, in my opinion. Uh-oh. Custer's boys! Alright. More 6th Corps infantry sighted. Okay, let's go ahead and expand our line south. These guys will go to the farthest south position, which is kind of borderline off the map. Get off our ass, Custer! Oh, don't run away, guys. Let me take over you. I can come and hit Custer in the rear. You're just retreating toward the enemy, you dumb fucks. Okay. Shoot at him. Alright. That's not working out so well. Anyway, buying time. That's all that really matters. The enemy advances on our trenches, we'll be fine. Yeah, I think Cold Harbor's an interesting decision from a game perspective. Like, you're going to include one of the most well-known decisive defeats of the war. I think they kind of followed the same approach with including Fredericksburg. It was, you know, certainly a well-known battle, but not exactly one that maybe makes a good game. Now, I think they did a decent job with Fredericksburg, but as the Confederate perspective, it's not terribly challenging. you know, from the Union perspective, it can be interesting, which maybe this battle falls into the same scenario, but I just, if they're going to model it in anything of a semblance of a realistic battle, I don't think it's going to be a terribly challenging fight. You know, the only challenging piece would be this initial first day's action where you're trying to fight over the crossroads. When it comes to actually fighting the Union charge on heavily dug-in Confederate positions, it seems a little bit, you know, okay, so what? Why didn't you include the wilderness? Would have been a much more logical decision in my view, because the wilderness had a lot of back and forth. The Union attack drove the Confederates back. The Confederates counterattack drove the Union back. Again, another early morning Union attack on the second day's battle. Longstreet's forces come in and shatter a Union flank. Nearly win the battle. Longstreet gets killed. The steam goes out of the attack. And then the Confederates launch a late-night flank attack under Gordon, again, nearly obtaining substantial success, but falling short of a decisive victory. So the wilderness makes a lot more sense for me, you know, what makes a good game than Cold Harbor does, but I guess we'll see. You can see we're dug in. We're just kind of awaiting the enemy. The enemy cavalry is kind of approaching us, but it looks like they've thought better of it and decided against charging our earthworks. I'm going to fast forward a bit here, given that I don't think there's going to be anything else that's going to occur on this turn. You can see here a draw. It says we need to hold all these spots, which we do. The victory requires us to attack. I assume there's a counterattack here to win a victory or something. Belua Church. I thought that was on the Union positions, but I could be wrong. Okay, so they're moving some infantry out into the open. I don't think they're going to have time to attack us before the day runs out. Certainly a lot of artillery fire going on, but, you know, yeah, they advanced and quickly withdrew. So, we'll see. There are no Vicksburg battles in this game, which is another kind of shame, because that's another important campaign that often gets short shrift. I was happy that they have Chickamauga. I was happy they have Shiloh, and Stones River even more so. But there's nothing really from the Mississippi theater. The rest, it's really just the Tennessee theater. I can't remember. Were they going to include Franklin, or is Cold Harbor the last battle that they're going to cover? Does anybody know? The Federals are shifting their army toward Old Cold Harbor, and we're responding by reinforcing our right flank near New Cold Harbor crossroads. Our left flank must be secured and pin down a large portion of their force if we want our defense to be successful. So we plan to attack and control the area near Shady Grove while their army is still on the move. Okay. All right, well, this is kind of interesting. This is a little bit, you know, again, making this a more forward action from the Confederate perspective. Okay, must defend that at all cost. The wood near Magnolia Swamp, by threatening our left, we must allow the Federals to bring more forces there. Crittenden's division of Burnside's Corps currently guarding this section of Shady Grove, and we must repulse him. Securing either Magnolia Woods or Shady Grove will force the Union reinforcements to deploy further east, allowing our own reinforcements to push forward and press their left. So again, it appears it's going to kind of model Lee's attempt to secure his left. So if we fail, I'm not quite sure by the way it's describing that if we lose the battle. Okay, so we have to hold this position, right? So I think we put York's brigade in these trenches here. Evans here, but the question is how are we going to overwhelm them and drive them, you know, from these positions? Because we don't really have any substantial forces that we can use. It's all going to be frontal assault. Granted, through woods. So that may make things a little easier. With this artillery forward here. And I think actually Evans' brigade's going to come out of their works. You know, you've got 2,000 men in this defensive position. You've got 4,000 more coming down, and we have a fraction of that. So I think the initial thing I'm going to do is deploy some skirmishers. Oops. I think I just ordered them to combine with who I don't know. This seems like a very difficult assignment here. I don't know if these guys are in the same division as well. Can they combine? Okay, so again, there's no real exposed flank. So if we lose the battle, if we lose this fight, that could be frustrating. Alright, so we've got our sort of consolidated forces here. I suppose we can pull York up as well out of these trenches. And just hope the enemy doesn't drive for our center. Is that Gordon's division? Alright, a skirmishers just got annihilated by Lettle's division, which means our left is frightfully exposed. If the Federals try and advance here. There is one fort battle, Jack. It's like the initial, very initial effort. It's kind of like the one of the tutorial scenarios for the Confederacy. Yeah, for the Confederacy. Taking artillery fire, I am kind of leaving Bennett a little bit exposed. Suppose I could shift him into these woods a bit to make him a little less vulnerable to artillery fire. The skirmishers were already annihilated, but he's protecting our left against these Federal troops. Oh, wow! Pushed him back. I'm gonna split off some skirmishers here. And send them here to kind of act as a skeleton guard on our position. Because again, we have to hold this objective, and if the Federals do advance, we're a little bit exposed there, so at least it'll act as a bit of a stopgap. We gotta make sure these guys don't get... Ah, no, they're getting into these trenches already. This is some really steep terrain, it seems like. They're very limited cover as they kind of go up these woods. Someone is engaging in melee. Alright, so we pushed them... It looks like we pushed them back. Alright, so we've broken their center a bit. Now maybe we can shift north and drive into their rear, hopefully. Alright, let's move some supplies forward. So that was easier than I thought it would be to at least break this defensive position. These guys are moving so slow up this hill. And they're moving at the double, so their condition is getting trashed. I'll stop moving them double quick. These South Carolina boys are taking some heavy fire. But we can move York into these guys' rear. Get behind, get in here and then shoot into their rear. As long as the South Carolina boys hold their position, I think we may be okay. Alright. Get them into the cover of these buildings and then let them fire into Bartlett's rear. As long as the Union and the South don't push, we should be okay. Okay, so Bartlett's men are retreating as well. Looks like some reinforcements must have just arrived because this line shifted left. Okay. So we are, let's see here. Okay, so Magnolia Woods is becoming ours. There's only 20 minutes left. I don't know if I've got time to keep pushing. Union are coming down on our flank a bit. Bennett's gonna have to try and hold. He's in pretty good cover. Okay, these guys are exhausted. Warren's Corps near, we're outnumbered and must secure our defensive positions. He's coming down from the north, though. So I think we're actually in decent position to resist him. Get into these woods a bit. So again, we're heavily outnumbered. We haven't taken this northern objective, which I don't know if we have to. I'm hoping we don't. Oh, these guys are coming in right behind us. Lovely. Okay. Alright. Oh boy. York's gonna get caught between two enemy positions. Why are they in these trenches again? That seems like an idiotic thing for the computer to do. It just exposes their rear. That's just dumb cup AI. Run right into the trenches and have no chance of holding them because you now run your back and expose it to the... Our right flank is under attack. Oh shit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for tuning in. This was just the first part, or my first impressions of the new historical Battle of Cold Harbor. So I hope you guys enjoyed. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I know that, obviously we haven't finished the battle, but we did finish the initial couple of pieces to the battle over the crossroads, and then the battle to secure our left flank. The next battle will look at the attack by the Federals on June 1st on the Confederate right flank, and our attempt to hold out there. So, guys, until tomorrow, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.